share. At the point that it does allow us to go, I will go ahead, obviously, and release it. But I'd like for us to go ahead and get started. So, welcome, welcome. I'd like to ask everyone if they would please mute. Welcome, welcome. Hello, Facebook, and hello, my beautiful, beautiful Palms Up audience. Guys, it's another week, and it's your girl, and we are back because obviously there's a lot going on in the community. And thank you so much for joining us each and every week at 7 p.m. And before I get started, let me pay some bills. Absolutely. We would not be able to do all the wonderful work that we do in the community and then with this programming if it wasn't for our beautiful sponsors. That's right, Glamour Nails over on North Capitol Street in Washington, D.C. 202 750 6612. Tell them that you appreciate all the beautiful support and the work that they're doing on behalf of our organization to make sure that our mission gets funded. Also, we want to thank our beautiful girl, Miss Danita. Thank you, my dear, with those growing hands over there. Guys, don't take our word for it. Give Miss Danita's House of Hair a call at 202 607 4325. It's your girl. It's your girl. Welcome, welcome. And I'm going to ask everyone if they will mute and turn their volumes down so that we don't have too much feedback as we're currently receiving. Guys, we also love the Waterfront Insurance Network who's supporting our efforts and making everything possible. Waterfront Network is at 202-487-0497. That's waterfrontinsurancenetwork.com or whereistheagent.com. That's right, guys. It's your girl. It's your girl. And we have a wonderful, wonderful show tonight. We're kicking off the month of April talking to our soldiers. Guys, the entire month we're going to be blessed and honored to have amongst us our beautiful soldiers, everyday men in the communities, because guys, these stereotypes are out here, these guns are going off, and they would allow us to believe that we don't have it together in our communities. We've got some challenges, no doubt. And word on the street is that there's a new gun violence prevention office over in Ward 8. Imagine that. We're going to have to venture down to Ward 8 and see what's going on at this gun violence prevention office because those guns are still going off. And we've got to figure out why our folk think it's okay to pull guns out in the middle of the day because they're having a dispute. Or we've got to figure out why these beefs are so heavy that folks have to die. I mean, we need to get real about this. And let's face it, this isn't one person's problem. This isn't one particular area problem. This is our entire city's problem. This is our community's problem. Until we get these guns to stop, this is all on all of us. And we've got to stop burying our babies. Palms up. That's right. That's right. Hey, guys, we had some communication issues, so we had to do what we have to do, which is what we always do. We improvise. So without any further ado, what I'd like to do is to introduce you to my beautiful, beautiful co-host this week. I've got beautiful Miss Ann Coles. How's it going, Overseer Coles? Welcome back another week.
Hello, palms up, Sister Hamilton. How are you? How are you?
You know me juggling this crazy communication.
Woo.
I tell you, they try to keep us down, but no, they won't stop us.
No,
Thanks for
no.
joining us another week. Hey, Mr. Kenneth Clark, are you on the line? Are you with us another week, brother? No?
Palms up, palms
Oh,
up.
there he is. Palms up. Mr. Kenneth Clark is with us. That's right. That's right. Hey, guys, we got a beautiful, beautiful show lined up for you. They tell me that I've got some beautiful soldiers here that are all lined up and ready to talk to us this week. First and foremost, I'd like to be able to introduce you to our beautiful, beautiful Mr. Ronald Rashaad in the house tonight. How's it going, Mr. Ronald Rashaad? Are you muted?
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I was
Thank you
muted. I'm
so much
sorry
for
about that.
being here. No, it's
Thank you.
okay. I'm coming right back to you. I'd love to get this conversation kicked off, but before I do, I want to welcome Mr. Saladin Simmons to the conversation and to the platform. How's it going, Mr. Saladin? Did I pronounce that name properly?
Yes, you did. Thank you very much.
Welcome, soldiers. Welcome. And as always, I thank my beautiful, beautiful virtual audience for coming along for the ride with us for another week. And without any further ado, I want to introduce you guys to Mr. Rashaad. Again, Mr. Rashaad was so humbled and we were so honored to receive him as our guest speaker we did our what is it, our kickoff event, our launch of the Project Enough initiative. I have
Yes.
to think back, time is flying.
Yes, the
Well,
Black Wall
welcome,
Street
brother.
event.
Yes, the Black Wall Street down at the Arc in Ward A. Thanks so
Yes.
much for coming back to the platform, boy. That means a lot when they stick around and they come back. We're so honored to have you, brother. Can we
Thank you.
jump right into this conversation?
Yes, we can.
Mr. Rashaad, I know you know because you're a worker out there in the community. I've been keeping my eye out and I appreciate you keeping in touch with us. We got these guns going off, and we had this crazy idea that perhaps if our brothers and our mothers of brothers and our families out there could see positive images of our Black brothers that have come through the struggle, and many that have been familiar with the struggle, or know a little something that can kind of bring some wisdom through the telling of your own story. I know
Yeah.
many of our brothers out there, they must feel like they are, challenged to put a good life together, or challenged to make different decisions because maybe they're not on the right path. And so we're
Yes.
hoping that the entire month of April that we can empower some families, some young men. We've got to do something to get these guns out of their hands, and we've got to stop burying our young soldiers. So thank you for helping us. The month of
Thank you.
April is all about erasing stereotypes. Would you help us understand who Mr. Ronald Rashaad is in a very brief introduction, and how it is and what it is that you do and how it is that you've come to do that?
Okay, well, as you all know, my name is Ronald Rashaad. It's actually Ronald Rashaad Jackson. I come and I represent my company, with name is Create You, and that's spelled KRIATE, and it's an acronym that stands for Kids Realizing Initiative and Talent Evolves. Well, our goal right now is to definitely create and give the option of different and more alternative mental and behavioral health services, not just to youth, but to adults also. Um, I've worked with so many different mental and behavioral health core service agencies, and a lot of the things we provide are just therapy, individual and family counseling, medication management, and community support. And in our community, there's a stereotype or there's a misunderstanding of what mental and behavioral health is. It's a misconception and it's a secret. And that's one of the things that we need to be a lot more aware of nowadays. So I want to create other options for people to receive mental behavioral health services. I want to do things like music therapy, art therapy, visualization therapy, massage therapy, meditation and yoga. These things are not just connected to our mental health, but it's connected to our mind, body, and our spirit. So these things are very important for us to be able to be not just as successful as we want to be, but to have a better mental health as we get older.
That was very, very wonderfully said. How is it that you come to do this wonderful work, Ronald?
Well, I've been working in the social services field since about 1997. Working in mentor, I was doing mentoring, third party monitoring. I was finding absconded youth. I was working in group homes. I started working on the ADHD project before. And then I just got into mental health and became a community support worker. And throughout that time, I began to see a need in our community. And it wasn't just someone who understands the people in our community, but it was also someone that wants to empower the community. So those are the things that kind of geared me to it. And I've always been a coach, not just for youth and athletics, but I've coached adults in life skills and different things of that nature to help them build and become better individuals.
That is so awesome. I tell you, you've got to have a huge heart to do that kind of work,
Yes.
Ronald, because I know. And it's so awesome to hear that you, a brother of color, that actually, you stayed in that field. Mental health carries a lot of stigmas.
Yes.
If you could help us, for our brothers that are out there, when you were coming along, or when you find yourself going through, is there a role model? Is there an affirmation? Is there a scripture? Is there anything that you yourself have depended on to get you through as come up through the ranks and saw what you were dealing with and what many around you are dealing with? We're just trying to bring positive solutions and alternative understandings for how we might be able to help these folks. So these folks that are out there lost, such as you, that may see themselves in you. I hear a lot of times young brothers that say that they like helping people.
Yes, definitely. I've been through some things. I've experienced some trauma, some hardships myself, and I spoke with a therapist at times before, which was helpful of someone to talk to. But the most help I found out was when I got to the Bible. One of my favorite scriptures is 1 Corinthians 13, the book of love. And I learned a lot through that. And it also led me to other scriptures in the Bible. And it led me to a ministry at my church called MCC, Men Connected with Christ. So I found that finding God is always something. I mean, you can't go anywhere else. You always have him. And then also talking on speak to my children over the phone. That's something that kind of can direct me into a great feeling too. So those things right there help.
Always a good release. I really enjoyed that. And I love that you took it to the Bible. I've heard throughout my journey and definitely daily as of late in our work that you can't expect to have any positive outcome if you don't have some aspect of a religious or spiritual connection, because when you've done all you can do, then what? You've got to be able to have faith that you're going to be able to work through it. So I thank you for taking it to. And what was that scripture again, so folks can follow?
1 Corinthians 13. That's the book of love.
I love that. I love that. Thank you. In your journey, what would you say was your turning point for success?
It's when I took a loss. I took a major loss. And at that point, I was down to absolutely nothing, but it gave me drive, and it was an opportunity to not just be a man because of my age, but be a man because of the responsibility and the hard work and dedication it was going to take to dig me out of my own hole. A lot of us have mistakes, and they're self-inflicted more than it's someone else's fault. However, we tend to give up in those moments, but those are great moments for you to find out what you're made of and have a great comeback story so you can share to someone else who's going to go through some of the same mistakes that you're going to go through.
I love that answer. I really do. And I think that you are dead on. Can you remember a time specifically as an adult? Because I know we go through the rites of passage from young men to old men. But the biggest thing is, as an adult, the point I want to get across is that we still have challenges daily that we still have to go through. So there's no level, a measure of success that would make, trouble immune to you, right?
Right.
Can you share for us maybe any pearls of wisdom for our troubled youth out there? You working with the youth, so I know this is second nature for you. But
yes,
how, in your words, how would we offer some pearls of wisdom for these young men and young women? My God, creating carjackings and murders, and pearls of wisdom, young brother, please.
So I understand that a lot of our youth and especially our Black youth in our communities, we don't see, that light at the end of the tunnel. Sometimes things don't look the way we want them to look when we want them to look that way. But we want to stay in that place that we've always sat in for year after year after year. And we never want to take that opportunity to just make a full change. And what I've done in the past couple of years, every time I see a quote that catches my eye or my ear, I write it down. One of the quotes that I live by now, that I would tell to any person, whether you be an adult, whether you be a child, is if you always do what you've always done, you always get what you've always got. Every change is not an improvement, but every improvement is by change.
Amen.
Every day you wake up, you can do and be whatever you want to be. Only thing that's going to stop you is you. That's all I got.
I thank you for that. No, that's a mouthful. I thank you for that. And one final question. I'm gonna give you a rest for a minute and see if we can't bring Brother Saladin into this conversation. But one final thing I'd love to hear you expound on. How has being a Black man, Ronald, in your opinion, how has that impacted, contributed, or hindered your efforts at success, in your opinion?
Um, that's a great question. I was just looking at a documentary called Black Boys,
Uh-huh.
and I think that I think through the attempts that society has tried to hinder Black males to not be as successful as we can be, or as successful as any other race, it has actually impacted and contributed to our success, because it has given us drive, it's given us desire, and it's given us fight. And without those things, no matter how successful we go, we'll never be as successful as we can be without any one of those three.
I love that. I love that. And thank you. And I appreciate you being so open and forthcoming. Will you allow me to come back and pick your brain a little more before we get out of
Yes,
here?
I definitely will. I definitely
appreciate
will.
that. I really do. Hey,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Saladin, no, thank you. The pleasure's all ours, brother. I love my soldiers, and I love the opportunity to be able to showcase you guys just because we can't stop these guns. We can't help our community until we come together. And one of the things that was taught to me is that many of our brothers feel that society uses us, the women, against you guys, and we want to stand strong in unity so that we can bring our communities back together. We want to erase yesterday's stain of all of the oppression. So thank you for sharing. Hey, Mr. Saladin Simmons, will you join me in the conversation?
Yes, ma'am.
How's it going, brother?
All right. How you doing?
Doing just fine. Thanks so
Good.
much. Thanks so much for joining us. Who is Saladin Simmons? What is it that you do, and how is it that you've come to be doing that?
Well, my name is Saladin Simmons. I'm the CEO of Simmons Consultants. What we do is we do employment. So we're a Black-owned business. We focus on, like Mr. Ronald Jackson said, the CSAs in this community that's helping the people with mental health. So we primarily staff, well, we do other staffing, but primarily we do for the mental health, LICSWs, LPCs, CSWs, psychiatrists, nurses, doctors, whatever you need to help build that team. Again, like Mr. Ronald Jackson, I did do some work in the community, like as a CSW, and I felt I could build and be more helpful on a wider range by making sure we get the right staff that really want to do the work, because this work is not for everybody. A lot of people go through it, and some people can't handle it, and some people end up just doing it for the money. But you have to care about people to do it, because it ain't gonna be all about the money at the end of the race. But you'll feel good about helping people. But what I wanted to do was I wanted to build something where I could impact not just my agency, but all the agencies. So what I did was I started doing recruiting and getting the best staff. And I knew most of them because of the work they've done when I've been around them. Because I worked with the Department of Behavioral Health for a number of years. And I've been doing some of that work for about 20 years. So I knew the ins and outs, and that became my niche. So you got to find your niche of what you want to do. And when you find your niche, you got all the power that be.
I love that. Those are some powerful words. And I just want to stop for a minute and honor the reality that we've got some beautiful, positive brothers in mental health. And I know that if we keep and continue with this mode of bringing you guys to the forefront, that we can get our community members to rally around what you guys are doing. I am so honored, and I thank you for accepting the invite. I obviously realized 20 years in the business that would be the reason why you would be doing the work. And as you said, you got to have a big heart to do this kind of work. Will you help us understand on your journey? Are you from DC? I didn't get to ask Ronald that. I'm gonna have to double back and ask Ronald as well. But Saladin, are you from the DC area at all? I'm just curious.
Well, I think half and half, because I've been here about 20 years. But
okay.
But I'm really from New York City, And
Ah, okay.
that's the rough part. That's
Yeah.
once you
But
make
that's
it
how
through
you're
there,
able to come down here and do this work and do
yeah,
it well.
you're able to feel it. So I did work
I
there as
appreciate
well.
that. Will you help us understand when you knew that you wanted to impact agencies? What was it? Is there any one pivotal moment or story that touched you on a level that had you feeling like this is what I'm going to do?
Well, what happened was when I started my staffing company, I stopped doing the mental health, and then
Mm-hmm.
when I reached back to see some of the people that I had on my caseload, they was dying, and
Mm,
some of them died, and I
mm,
said, well, I need to do something to get back in there because the people that took over my caseload or was doing the job, they wasn't able to do it correctly. They were doing it for the money,
mm.
and I knew what it take to keep the people alive, but when I stepped out of it, they was just dead. So, I hold them close to me and I said, you know what? I'm gonna make a difference and I'm gonna try to save as many lives as I can.
That is so beautiful. That is so beautiful. I love my brothers, and I don't feel that we do enough to honor the work and to honor your commitments to our community. Hey, Saladin, these guns are going on. And I know that you see a lot in the community. I know that you've seen a lot in all of your years. In your opinion, how has being a Black man impacted or contributed or hindered your efforts at success you feel?
Well, I think that what Black men is going through right now is basically more so economics. If you ask someone young or older what they want to do, they don't have an idea what they want to do. That's because they don't have a lot of choices, because they don't have a lot of finances or education or supports to choose from. But once they invest in themselves, then they too will have a choice because now you can figure out what you want to do. You have choices on the table, and you'll be able to see better that you're able to accomplish those goals because you will feel you have the proper tools. So building yourself as a Black man and being responsible for yourself as a Black man to do the right thing and look out for others, even when they're not looking out for you, versus do unto others how they do unto you. Somebody got to step up first and just do it.
I love that. Thank you so much for that. I want to understand uh, what it is that who it is that you turn to when you find yourself going through. It's important that we help our community to understand that even leaders have to have a support system because you
Yeah.
obviously, when you get upset, you can't pull out a gun and just take care of it, right? Right?
Well, you're right. You're right. You're right. But what I do is I reach for the positive people that's around me. I reach back to the community. I don't seek someone higher than me or have a mentor higher than me. I seek back to the community, and it basically places me back where I'm supposed to be because I don't want nobody learning negativity from me. I want to let them show them how to respond and react. So I'm less reactive when it comes to all the negativity, and I'm more responsible when it comes to giving out to the community.
I love that. I love that. And one of the things, Saladin, that I also wanted to understand, um, I guess the biggest thing is on your journey, there had to be a turning point when you knew that you were going to do the staffing as opposed to staying as a CSW. You mentioned that you wanted to impact the agencies. Are there any families that you've worked with through the years that you find yourself still having to support because they're not getting what they need?
Yes, I still dabble in the community at a CSA, and I help them put everything in order because they have a lot of issues in these CSAs that they got to conquer. They don't know how to provide the services, and they don't have the resources to help the consumers like they're supposed to. But operating within the guidelines, that's what helps them. But we need more resources for the community. If you take a bunch of a family of rats together, no matter they'll stay together all the time, but you throw some food in there, they'll fight each other. So we can't be that. We can't be that experiment. And every once in a while they throw us a little bit of meat or a bone or a piece of chicken, and then we're fighting over it. And that's why there's so much drama in our community, because everybody's trying to do something, but nobody's willing to do nothing.
That is very well said. Very well said. Well, you know what? I want to invite some other voices into the conversation, because I tell you, I'm working this board like a Hebrew slave, as they say, whatever that means. Mr. Saladin Simmons, you've been you've been listening to. Mr. Saladin Simmons, how would folks get in touch with you if they heard something that you said that sounded so phenomenal and they just wanted to follow up with you?
Well, if it comes to employment, they can go to my website. It's simmonsconsultants.org. And they could email a resume, or I do resume help if they need help with their resume, and they can email me directly. And my phone number's on my website as well, so they can call me directly if they're in need of a job, or if they're just looking for jobs for other people. So you can submit your resume online or email it to me directly.
Okay, well, I thank you for that. And Mr. Jackson, Ronald Rashaad Jackson, how would we get in touch with you if we wanted to follow up regarding, it was what, Create for You?
Yes, it's Create You. So you can follow me on Instagram at KRIATE, then underscore, then the letter U, and then, or you can follow me friend me on Facebook at Ronald Rashaad.
That is beautiful, beautiful. Hey guys, it's your girls Palms Up, and we're talking to everyday soldiers about their commitments to the community and to self. We are erasing stereotypes the month of April, and I want to invite my panel to chime in, because obviously I've got some beautiful brothers on the panel, and I've got some wonderful sisters. Hey guys, I want to throw a question out there, and I want to open up the conversation. I understand that these guns are going off threefold in the city and in PG County. Suitland area is rife with violence right now. And we are doing what we can on our platform to keep the conversation going, to raise the awareness so that we can have pearls of wisdom from all directions. And it was important for us to highlight our beautiful brothers in this discussion, because one of the things that we understand is that the American family so broken. And as a result, what's happening is that our youth are losing their way. And so I'd like to open up the panel to Overseer Ann, Kenneth, to our beautiful Miss Hightower, or to Pastor-elect Walker. Do you guys have any input as it relates to the gun violence in our communities and helping to get our brothers back acclimated at the front of the family, where they should be, the forefront?
I see some of the problem.
Pastor, speak up a little bit. I can barely hear.
Okay, can you hear me better now?
That's perfect.
Okay, I see some of the problem is that people in general nowadays have no hope.
Mhm.
A lot of programs that were out and available when I was coming up were free. Now there's a charge for everything, and a lot of people can't afford it, or will get community programs that when they get grant money will come into the troubled communities. And grants money ain't really to help solve the issue. All it is, it's about pushing numbers and saying that you showed up. And the community said they tired of being prostituted.
Yeah.
And in our school system, they don't teach them how to communicate. You know, everybody have to stay to themselves. You got your private space, and that's it. And now this virus is getting even worse. I'm sick and tired of roundtable meetings. I'm like, get into the street and do what you got to do. Stop being scared. I mean, it is what it is. I'm a Ward 8 chick, you know, and we rolled with it, and that's just it. You know,
That's,
we had the big mama and all that, but everybody has become so materialistic now that it's all about self, and
mhm.
that's the way our society is going. I see we've been under soft martial law really for the past 25 years. Now it's just coming to the forefront openly for real.
Yeah. Yeah, hey, thank you for that, Overseer Coles. And we've got to have these kinds of conversations because, truth be told, I have so many folks that send me messages and emails when we're talking about these subject matters that are just that, they're waking up. And it's important that we do get woke because we've got some lives to save. You heard me talk at the top of the hour about the new violence or gun violence prevention office that's been opened in Ward 8. Hey, Mr. Kenneth Clark, as we attempt to hold our elected officials accountable, we've seen one initiative after another. They're holding these, what do you call, press conferences on a regular basis. But the definition of insanity is what comes to mind, although this is a new position. Will you help us understand from your perspective and for what you're seeing out there as an activist around this gun violence, what should the city implement or what should we expect from this new gun violence prevention office over in Ward 8?
Well, there definitely has to be the implementation of the cultural sensitivity. There has to be an understanding of you have programs um, such as a beloved agency that would put something like this, but if there is no cultural understanding, there's not an understanding of what's in the community. What is the community actually saying what the need is, as opposed to just creating something that either may have a good intent, but it's not built from the perspective of what's actually needed from the community perspective. What are the constituents saying? What are the real issues? What is at hand? You can create something, but if it's out of touch, if it's not really integrated, community integrated, what are the people saying? What's really going on? I think sometimes I was talking to a young man today. He said, can you guys stop talking and just start listening to what we're telling you of what the need is, what's going on with us young people, and so that is, what we have at hand.
I love that. I love how you summarize that. You're absolutely right. Rather than just creating initiatives based on what they believe to be the answer or solution, perhaps these initiatives should encompass what the community actually is calling for and need. Mr. Ronald Rashaad Jackson, I want to call you back to the conversation. You touched on the reality of us needing resources as well as Saladin. I'm going to go back to him as well. Talk to us in your perfect world scenario what those resources would look like from your perspective.
Well, excuse me. Well, we would it'd be more so other options. Because the options that we've been given, let's just speak about behavioral health. It's been the same options all the time. We want to get you with a CSA, so we want to get you on medication. You receive some therapy when you're consistent, and that's when you'll receive it, or you'll get community support. However, there's no other options like those alternative supports that are for mental behavioral health. A lot of times we don't have those options, so a lot of the opportunities to be in a better mental state, it's not even provided to us because, like I said, the options aren't there. You may have one company that are far and few. However, they may be backed up and not taking new clients. So those are some of the things that hold us back from receiving all the resources and all the opportunities, or even the options, may I say that, that can be provided to us.
I love that you expounded on that. Ronald, one of the things that came to mind when you were speaking was the reality that there are many folks that don't even understand that the preventative understanding of mental health. That's just not a conversation that we have when we talk about mental health. And so there's a lot of funding that we could pour into the preventative understandings that would create these alternatives that I know that you're speaking of. I thank you for that. And guys, hold tight for a minute. I want to welcome to the conversation our dear failed justice advocate, Mr. Perry Red, socially speaking, as he says. Mr. Red, welcome to the conversation. If you'll unmute yourself. Welcome, another positive Black brother out here going at it for the community, sir. How are you this week? Uh-oh, can't hear you. Are you?
Thank you,
this
and
crazy
hello.
technology? Can you hear us, Perry?
I don't know what I have to do different. I can, yes.
Okay, great. Well, I know you got some wonderful content. If you think your computer or your technology is going to cooperate, we'd love to hear from you.
Well, you know what, it probably won't, but I do have something that I do believe is relevant to this conversation. When you talk about mental health, and I hear you all loud and clear. This is one of the reasons why I'm a strong proponent of a defund and refund the police solution, because in order for us to heal ourselves, we have to attend to the root causes of Black on Black violence. I want to just give you a few instances of failed justice just recently revealed to us. In the district, a 5-year-old autistic child who refused to wear a mask on a school bus had the police called on him. Then today we learned that another 5-year-old in Montgomery County last year was handcuffed and berated by 2 school resource officers. This was caught on video. And this 5-year-old was berated for walking off campus. Listen, the fact is, we cannot become the thing that we hate in order to move our children into a place of discipline and social order. These adults were caught on video doing the thing that has harmed us for so many generations. So in order for us to get to a place of healing and a place where we respect ourselves, we have to hold those in authority accountable. Yes, we are accountable as well. We're responsible as well. But when you hold a position of trust, then you are more accountable. Today, the DC Council, they passed legislation that allows landlords to evict tenants, regardless of the COVID moratorium, who pose a, and I'm quoting, current and substantial threat with the mayor's approval. Now, the Healthy DCMB Coalition has been advocating for tenants in Woodbury Village apartments in Southeast DC.
Yes, we have.
Understand this, that those tenants have been threatened, they've been demeaned and demoralized by their residential manager acting on behalf of the landlord. And they're looking for any reason to get people out who complain. Any reason to get people out who may hold them accountable. And so the vote by the council today only harms us. This is not justice. As a matter of fact, it's failed justice. So I want you to, for those who are underserved, those who don't have a voice, those who are vulnerable. I hope my internet connection, Rhonda, is coming through. I know it's unstable, but I have to share this with the Healthy in DC and Me supporters and the Palms Up viewers. Understand that it is so very important that we allow the political element that is outside of our purview to come into our lives. And understand that the only thing that has kept you safe in this country, that has made you a part of this country, is legislation, the legislative process, laws. Because that's the only thing that white men will respect. that the system of oppression will respect. So it's so important that you do so. And lastly, on this failed justice section of Palms Up TV, I've got to share with you the trial of Darren Chauvin, the ex-police officer in Minneapolis who killed George Floyd. There was much testimony, and testimony by 8 different police authorities, whether they were officers or those within the ranks, that what happened was illegal, that it was against policy. We've got a case right here in DC that has not been addressed. Karan Hilton and Rhonda Hamilton, your host and your advocate. She has stood beside me as we have continued to advocate for the family of Karan Hilton and demand justice. The fact is that even though Chauvin may be convicted, maybe, if indeed that happens, it does not indict an entire system of oppression since 1865 that has legally and formally kept us in a place where our mental condition is harmed every day. Rhonda, let me tell you, it is failed justice when the criminal system does not hold those accountable. So there is much work for us to do, and the Healthy DC and Me Coalition is the way you can contribute to this change in this society.
Amen.
Rhonda, thanks for giving me a minute to share our failed justice sector.
I appreciate you, sir. As always, thank you for that. You touched on quite a few things, and let's just jump on into it. Why don't we? We've got a few more minutes to spare, and we've got some wonderful intellectual folks on the call. I want to understand something, guys, because Perry touched on defund the police. That's been a topic of conversation about town. And as we continue to struggle with the understanding of the guns going off, what I'd like to hear from our panel today is I'd like for you to chime in. My personal opinion, and that is just what it is, my personal opinion. We are living in some times, and when we keep echoing the reality that we don't have the resources needed to deal with the root cause of why these guns are going off. Let's face it, guns don't kill people. People with guns kill people. And so, as Mr. Red so eloquently shared, we've got to be able to understand the root cause. In the middle of the day, they're pulling out guns to settle arguments. Guys, defund the police. When I hear that, what I hear is that as a result of losing George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter being so prominent, now, obviously, as we've always been concerned about stereotyping and police brutality and the oppression that we've been dealing with in our communities from brothers that are in blue, I do get it. But you've got to help Miss Rhonda understand for my babies, because see, we had the benefit of Officer Friendly in the community.
Yeah, we did.
We've always had trouble with the police mechanism. Guys, those of you from our DC area here, PG cops, that whole area of who was it? My God, Terrence Johnson was one of the cases.
It was my classmate. He was my classmate.
We had some serious issues. We have serious issues, and we've always had to reconcile as a community the activism of such. But what I'm concerned about, Miss Rhonda's concerned about, are my babies that are caught up in these conversations. And until we figure it out, these bullets are to keep flying past their heads, and we keep having these press conferences. But the reality is, as a Black community, the accountability has to be on both sides.
One thing we have to understand is the gun violence. Okay, one thing we have to understand, getting the guns off the street is higher in our communities. You think about NRA, they do a lot of funding to our government, even though they say as a federal employee, you're not allowed to take no more than $25. But there's legislation that gives them a right to get funding from these big corporations. We got to start there. And let the truth be told, the DNA in our country, this country was taken by force. Okay? So that's all this country know. It ain't even race, but that's all America know. The other thing that people need to understand, when you hear defunding, and I have sat in some very high meetings, defunding ain't what everybody think it is. What the problem is, and this is why the states and the city have so much surplus money, because each district police department is given thousands of dollars a year in their budget that the public don't even know, that is supposed to support community based programs. And then when the fiscal year comes, they cannot justify the money, so the money is taken. And
Come
then
on,
we want
preach,
to talk
overseer.
about DC government. DC not ready to be a state. Okay? Because, and
Oh,
that's
now
where
tell them again. Hold up, Pastor. Palms up. Come on.
That's the
Speak,
problem
sister.
right there. Because
Speak.
DC has always been federally funded. So what the mayor is doing, because you want statehood, what doing is getting these developers to come in and they sign these contracts guaranteeing a certain percentage of the new housing will go to low income people. But there's a catch-22.
Come
With
on.
every law, there's an amendment. And the amendment to the law is if they come in there and they catch them doing this and that, they can put them out. But guess the secret to it is once they put them out, they don't put no more back in there. They've met their quota for the government. So if DC want to be a state, then they got to learn to fund themselves.
Come on now. Well,
so
first and foremost,
talk
sister,
about it.
You on fire.
Fund ourselves. We don't have any corporations in it to bring jobs. We look at DC government, they can't even handle their own business, so they got to contract their own work out.
Come on
DC
now.
got to get themselves in shape.
Come on now. Come on now. Speak, sister, speak. And that's what we do.
And this little thing in Ward 8, I'm going to keep it 100.
Come on.
They got the funds for it, but if you ain't kissing butt, you ain't getting part of the money, okay? They keep going for the same folk over and over and over again. And I'm sorry, I'm a pastor, but I ain't sucking no dick. I ain't kissing no ass. Nothing to get, I'm going to earn mine, okay? We got to earn ours. We got to stop looking for folks to do stuff. We got to do it for ourselves. Going back to the garden, it's always the blame game. Let's stop blaming and do something. I'm through with it.
That's it. Palms up, palms up. We keep it 100.
At 100.
As my Dick Kingdom
said, talking and screwing on each other in there. That's why they keeping each other hostage in there.
Okay, breathe. Breathe, sister, breathe. That's right. You ain't said nothing wrong. Breathe. You know, sometimes it get a little X-rated on this platform as it shouldn't, but sometimes we just got to take it all the way there and keep it 100 or 1,000, as Mr. Clinton Clark says. Hey guys, it's your girl, Palms Up. This is our platform. This is the community platform, and this is where we bring this kind of conversation. It is not about clicks. It is not about selling our city out. And if the city's not ready for statehood, then they need to pump their brakes. We know it'd be very exciting to receive it, but you ain't been acting properly. You ain't been acting appropriately, and you ain't been including all of your citizens. And so this is the backlash that we have. And so the truth of the matter is, the truth be told, is that absolutely, we have to talk about these things. Absolutely, because these guns are going off in our community. We're still burying our community members, and there are families out there that are lost. And until we can find a venue that they can actually be able to turn to, or until we ourselves can hold ourselves accountable to come together in a unified effort to go march down there, Kenneth Clark, to that violence prevention office in Ward 8 and let them know what it is. The truth of the matter is we've got to keep talking it up. And if these kinds of words or these kinds of conversations are finding you and having you feel some kind of way, then you need to tune in more often, and you need to catch us every week, because this is where we come to talk about realness. Hey, Mr. Saladin Simmons, you talked about resources. I asked Mr. Ronald Rashaad Jackson to talk to us about his understanding of resources. Would you come forward and would you expound in terms of an ideal situation, in your opinion, to help us counteract this gun violence as it relates to the mental health connection? Thank you, brother.
Okay, as far as the resources, I think it would we'd be better if we provide for our own. You know, God said, you know, you bless the child to have their own. So, and we can provide and not look for these resources from these politicians or state or governments, and we could provide our own resources for our community, and we could step up and do what we got to do first. We shouldn't expect nothing from them or from anyone else. That's my belief. So
I love that.
that makes me get up and do what I got to do. If I'm sitting back and I'm expecting someone to do something for me, or I feel somebody should do something for it, I feel entitled. And
thank you.
We in the community really feel like we still owe something after all this time. We're not owed nothing. If you feel you're not owed nothing, you get up and you go say, I'm going to get what I want to get, you're going to be successful. If you do it consistently, you're going to be very successful. So it's not about the politicians, it ain't about the presidents, it ain't about the white people or colored people or black people or whatever. It's about each and everybody getting up and saying, I'm going to go and do something about how I'm doing. And I'm going to reach out to the people in my community. You know, we got a lot of Black people that could help people. We got to help people. We got to help each other. So it's up to us. I don't believe in the whole, you know,
waiting on somebody else.
You know, if anybody comes to me for anything, I provide for them. I'm a provider. Absolutely. I feel that God blesses a hand in each family, and that person in that family that's blessed is supposed to help the others and pull them up. You know, we all know when you're in a large family, 1 or 2 is become successful. The other 4 out of 6 may be dragging their feet, but it's a higher responsibility for those 2 to pull the rest up. You know, and ain't for everybody, but we gotta start with each other. I'm not going into, we could open our own businesses, we can open up our own grant programs, we can write grants, we can open our own schools, our own banks. And I can't, because I just don't live it. I don't live and wake up and want to do something that someone from another race is doing. You know what I'm saying? Or I try to meet them where they at. I know what's out there. I find my resources. I work on it. I know where the education to go for education. I know how to Google. I know how to find whatever it is I'm trying to do. And all you got to do is put some research in it, find out how to do it, and just do it. That's it. It's no excuse. I can't go no further than that. I don't blame nobody.
That's beautiful.
I don't blame nobody for what they have or don't have, because if you're not changing it, you're choosing it. So if you get up with the same attitude, you're gonna be right there, waiting for someone to give you something. So
2 things I want to touch on in what you're speaking on. I thank you, brother. It's important that these conversations are had by us and that the members in the community are able to hear, because we're creating crutches for our children and for our community members. And one of the things that's challenging for those of us that are coming forward and doing the work, as you said, Healthy DC and Me Coalition, we didn't like the idea of this new hospital that's being rammed down the throat that's only offering, I think last time I read, 29 beds for mental health. And if they've increased that, it's only because they've been hearing from the advocates, but it's still not enough in a ward where those beds will be used up in the first 30 minutes of opening. So I'm not understanding why they believe that that would be adequate. And so Healthy DC and Me Coalition, we know that history taught us that we've come together as a people to create understandings of what's needed. Go ahead, brother. You want to say something?
Well, that's them using it as an experiment. And also,
well, you know, that's a glorified research center. Right. You know it. Come on, brother.
And it's enough beds to rotate us, because they're not going to give you something direct. So
come on now.
It's going to be about rotating us and watching, seeing the cause and effect.
Blessing it up and waiting for your ride back across the water again. And that's why we're coming forward. The Capital City Emergency Trauma and Wellness Center is something that the Healthy DC and Me Coalition is birthing into the understanding of east of that river, because we know that the mental health footprint will not be addressed appropriately. And as you said, we're not willing to wait for them to figure it out, because it's too detrimental and damaging for our people. So I love you for touching on that. And the reason why we've invited folks to our platform is because we need this conversation to grow and expound. We've got community members, extended family members that are in trouble, and legislation might do something, but the truth of the matter is we've got to do something. And we've got community members that are not being accountable for their behaviors, and we've got to be able to be accountable as leaders to help to connect them to the types of resources that are needed. And hey, you know what, Mr. Simmons and Mr. Jackson, Kudos to you, brothers. Thank you so much for the work that you're doing. The stigma in mental health is so thick, and too often we don't hear about it through the mindsets of brothers such as yourself. We have folks in other races and other classes that are giving us the understanding of what mental health is. And the truth be told, you guys are closer to what we understand it to be, and the closest valid resources we need abundantly to help these brothers. So I thank you for coming to the platform and helping us to keep this conversation going, because all we care about is helping our community members to advance to better versions of themselves. These guns must stop, and we've got to figure out how to do that and be a part of them stopping. So I thank you. Are there any final words that you'd like to share with our audience, Mr. Simmons, before we wrap up?
I think that's about it. I can't think of
You've
nothing
done a
else.
wonderful job, brother. How do we get in touch with you again? You're out there staffing agencies and making sure that you impact the community in such a wonderful way. How do we get folks in touch with you again?
Okay, well, my website is simmonsconsultants.org. That's SIMMONS consultants, CONSULTANTS.org. Or you can contact me at 646-570-0081.
Thank you so much. I really
Mr. Simmons, can you put that in the chat?
We look so forward.
Can you put that in the chat here on the
I'll make sure that
platform?
everyone on this will get it. And if you will add it to the chat, as Mr. Red asked, you want to make sure that everyone on the call has your information, and I'll make certain that we get it posted when we post this as well. Thank you, Mr. Saladin Simmons, for taking time out of your busy schedule to come talk to us and share some knowledge, brother.
It's about economics. It's about economics. Let's make some money.
I love it. I love it.
They'll put down the guns after they're making that money, because now
hey,
they got something to lose.
Tell you what,
and they're not losing their jobs trying to be violent when they're living good.
We're going to be coming your way to pick your brain about that. We're not going to give up. We're just getting started. So thank you so much for putting that information in the chat for us, Ms. Hightower. Hey, Mr. Ronald Jackson. Thank you so much, brother, for coming forward today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Message out. Please help me understand how, any final words of thought, of wisdom that you'd like to share before we wrap up this evening.
Well, first, you can reach me definitely on Instagram at createyou. That's again, KRIATE_U. Or you can follow me or friend me on Facebook or message me on Facebook at Ronald Rashaad. That's RASHAAD. My last words I want to say is hopefully, and I challenge all men. Hopefully one of the things I've learned from every male that I listen to on the phone is that we're leaders. And when we begin to lead in our community, and not just in our communities, outside of communities, but also in our households, when we begin to lead in all those areas of our lives, that's when we can begin to start seeing change in our community, not only with ourselves and our families, but with our youth, which is very important, and which is the future of who's going to take care of us. So I challenge all men to begin to lead more, and not just to lead at work or with in their circle, but lead in their community and their household at the same time.
I love that. I love that. Hey, brother, we ain't got nothing but time ahead of us. And you know what? One day at a time, we do this together. Hey, palms up to you guys. Palms up to the wonderful work that you guys are doing in the community. And we're keeping our eyes on you as well as the community. We have a saying here, who's watching the kingdom? And I tell you, after bringing forward Mr. Saladin Simmons and Mr. Ronald Rashaad Jackson, we know who's watching the kingdom. And I'm feeling really proud, brothers. Thank you for the beautiful work you're doing in mental health. We're here. Our platform is here. If there's ever anything that you're working on that we can support and that we can help you to promote, please don't think twice. We're going to keep you in the fold and keep you abreast of the things that we're doing, because Mr. Simmons, I totally agree. If we put enough money in front of these youth, I bet they'll put those guns down. And so we're on a mission over here to figure that part of it out. So thank you, guys. Thank you to my beautiful spirited overseer, Dr. Coles, who's going to always give it to you like it is, and we wouldn't have it any other way. Palms up, my dear sister. We do this till the wheels fall off, all right? Hey, Mr. Kenneth Clark, we got some splaining to do. They got a whole gun violence prevention office over in Ward 8. Oh yeah, what it is, Ward 8. We coming down there to see about that. Hey, Mr. Charles, Mr. Perry Red, I appreciate you, all of your wonderful wisdom and your knowledge and your support, brother. Thank you. Keep it where you got it. You know, you and I, we got some work to do to keep Woodbury Village on track. We've got some wonderful tenants over there that we're going to make sure that we bring justice their way. Hey, Miss Sharamia Hightower, Mr. Pastor-elect Willie Walker, our very, very dedicated and committed supporters. We appreciate you guys. Guys, we pulled it off another week. We would not want to do this without you all. Palms up to our beautiful community out there. Our Cash App is palms up, the number 4MI. Healthy DC, spell the word and me. .org, healthydcandme.org. Guys, we out here in this community. This is where we bring this conversation. And for the entire month of April, we will be celebrating our soldiers, listening to their stories, because it is important that we erase these stereotypes. We do this together. Amen. Guys, it's been another wonderful week. I can't thank you guys enough. Technology problems or not, we're going to get this word out. Palms up. You guys have a beautiful rest of your week. God bless you. I'll make sure you all get this link. See you soon. Talk to you later, guys. Keep it where you got it. God bless everyone, and palms up.